Mi gente, you already know who it is. It's the radioactive pop with Danny Limelight, United Wrestling Network World Heavyweight Champion. And make sure you tune into the Alliance blog every week. You heard it here first. Straight from Bobby.
Rules?
There are no rules.
What rules?
This is a revolution, damn it!
You'll hear things you've never heard before.
What in the wide, wide world of sports is going on here?
They want NWA? Let's give them NWA.
Who are those guys?
And then there's the other guys.
We're the other guys. We're the guys nobody ever bets on.
The following program is intended for mature audiences.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show.
It's time for the Other Alliance Guys podcast with your hosts, Tim, Dave, and Jeremy.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, and what can we tell you? Happy New Year! We are the Other Alliance Guys, a presentation of Alliance-Wrestling.com, your number one source for news and information around the National Wrestling Alliance, the United Wrestling Network, and various independents around the world. My name is Tim. I am joined by my tag team championship partners. One of them's got his belt on right now. This is Jeremy. How are you, my friend?
I'm a champion.
You are a champion. You were born a champion.
Now I got a belt that proves it, though.
That's right. Happy New Year to you and yours. You guys had a good holiday, Christmas.
Oh, yeah.
Good New Year. Everything was good.
Oh yeah, tons of presents were opened, and lots of not going out New Year's Eve went on.
Exactly. How about you, Scoob? How were your holidays?
Survived them, and being over the age of 50, I now realize why I don't stay up late and I work a regular job.
Yeah. I absolutely agree on all fronts. I had a good holiday myself. This guy's getting old too, right here. It's the boss man himself. Hey, Jay, hope you're doing well. Willie Bowen chiming off with the first. It's the Rolando Freeman. He's switching to to Rolando Freeman from Tyrus now. That's good. You're keeping current, I guess. Although I haven't seen Rolando in a little while. I guess he's doing Spectaculars 2.0, isn't he?
Yeah.
Dave Matthew Underwood says you don't look a day over 48.
Feel it.
There you go. Exactly.
Yep, feel it.
Money Mike is here. He did make it on time. He's he came in on a flight that made him, he said earlier in the chat, made him the seats on that flight made him look like a silverback sitting on a tiny bucket.
Oh,
but good to have you, Mike. Hour of Power podcast, who I have only seen in our Discord. Welcome, my friend. Willie was saying he did do a Tyrus joke. He sat on the Rainbow and invented Skittles. Thank you for being here, HOP. Nice to see you, my friend. Listen, it's hey, look. It's Fuzzy. It's been a while, Fuzzy. One of my favorite NWA fan people, Alliance fan people. Good to have you here. So let's get to it. We what are we gonna touch on this this show? Well, we'll do our regular little good news segment right off the top, and then touch on some of those upcoming events. And then tonight we're going to be looking at what are your hopes and dreams for they keep coming in and I keep clicking them and get the wrong ones. For the NWA, for the National Wrestling Alliance in 2024, what are you hoping that the improvements are going to be? What are you looking for as the NWA steps into a new platform in the CW app, and with all the changes we've seen over 2023, a very tumultuous year, what are those positive changes you're hoping for 2024? And hopefully not everyone just says, I want the booking to improve, but I'm sure that's probably on the top of many people's list, guys. And then, the UWN's been away and Jeremy's done his best while we wait, looking at the vault. But we just can't watch Memphis right now, can we?
No.
It's just nothing to talk about there, Jared.
No, not right now. But like I said, something's going to happen there. It has to. I mean, and wrestling ebb and flows. You know, it can't be good all the time.
Yeah, that's right.
And there's a lot more bad that goes on in wrestling than there is good. So
that's true. I guess. Yeah, you're probably right. And Memphis is just in one of those ruts right now. But hopefully they get a new year, and we'll get back to that. But with Mr. Marquez, getting to work on Derby City and Championship Wrestling, and I guess Championship Wrestling for Minnesota. I can't do it like you do.
Great state of Minnesota.
Then he'll have a busy year ahead. Jay is working on a VPN affiliate deal. That's good for guys like me up here in Canada who don't get the CW. We don't get it online. We don't get it on our phones. John, Fuzzy as we call him, right off the bat, not just booking to improve, but booking that means something. Booking that has direction and forethought. When they plan even 2-3 match arcs, it works. No more random matches. Yeah, promotional consideration paid for by the following. Hopes and dreams from Matthew Underwood, an AML show, an expanded roster, a springboard elbow drop from Kerry Morton. I can go on. We'll get to that in a sec. Let's do our round table right off the bat, and then actually later tonight, because I haven't mentioned it, Dave will do some fantasy booking to wrap us up with the question about whether or not the NWA needs to pick up one of these free agents who are on the market right now, or whether they should start building stars from the territories that they already have affiliations with. But let's talk about right off the bat. Hey, Eric, welcome. Good to see you. Thank you for being here. I wanted to mention this right off the bat as part of our right off the bat. How long have we been on the air? 8.5 minutes. As part of our good feel-good story deal, and probably the last time I'll mention the Iron Claw, I guess as a movie, released on December 22nd. If you haven't seen it, it's getting 89% right now on Rotten Tomatoes. Everyone kind of gives it sort of an A- across the board. I don't know if this has any relevancy to anyone, but it made $2.5 million on its first day, and went on. That was like a pre-show, and then it went on to debut to make $5 million. So it finished 6th on its opening, and then the following weekend it made another $5 million and finished 7th. So it's doing, I guess, pretty good. It's getting good ratings. Dave saw it. What did you give it in stars at the time, Dave?
I think I gave it a 2.5, but it's one of these things of it's all how you look at it. I was thrown because of knowing the actual story of the Von Erichs, and it's one of these things that if you go in open-minded and don't look at, oh well, the guy playing Kerry wasn't 6'2", and what happened in the storyline, it wasn't timeline wise, it wasn't correct. Okay, but it's based on a true story based on things that happened.
Yeah.
So it's one of those that I'm not going to give it more stars, but just go in a little more open-minded if you go to see it and you are a wrestling fan. It's one of these of like, if you're a Star Wars fan and you're a real Star Wars fan and you read the books, you know they didn't put everything in that was in the books. Almost every movie that is made that is based on a true story or taken from a book or a novel series, there's no time to put everything in there. So they make adjustments, and that's what they had to do with the Iron Claw.
Yeah. So
movie, it was good, but if you're looking at it based on historical fact, and if you are a wrestling fan, that's the only reason I gave it a lower star rating.
yeah, I gave it 2.5 because we all here and in the chat all have our wrestling eyes on when we go to see these things. It's 2.5 for me too. But if I were like media said here, if I went to see this as a drama, then you might like it, but don't go as a wrestling fan. Like that, if I just went, oh, I don't know anything about this, I might go, 3 stars, 3.5. But when you go and it's like Kerry wins the world title, and then wow, look at that, I'm gonna go for a ride and loses his foot. No, the thing that really bothered me right off the bat from it was there's no Chris.
Yeah,
there's no Chris Von Erich in the movie, and he's part of the tragedy. If it was just if he were removed from the family in some way, maybe I'd understand it, but I thought it was 2.5. Jay said, I'll be honest, I didn't love it. I didn't think Efron was all that good. Willie says Zach didn't look like Kevin Von Erich. The guys I actually thought who did the best job were the guys who played David and Kevin in the end. I thought they were pretty good, but it's difficult to find people of that size. And credit to Zac Efron at least for bulking up to be as big as he possibly could be. And I'm kind of like you, Dave. You got to kind of look past that stuff. Like, Tom Cruise has done a couple of Jack Reacher movies. Jack Reacher is supposed to be 6'5", and in the books, right? So anyway, you got to let that stuff go. Never mind the miscastings. Was all like a bad episode of Dark Side of the Ring, says Mike. Matthew says, I'm 95% positive the Von Erich Ranch where scenes were filmed 5 minutes from my house. Wow. Yeah, that's true. They hired people like Marks. The Flair guy was the actor, I think, from I think he means the Heels TV show. Why? Why not anyone else can at least impersonate Flair? Listen, man, there's funny, right before the show went on the air, one of my favorite scenes in the movie, I'm not getting anything away, is there's a stupid bit where was it Kevin who faces Flair right off the bat? Anyway, one of them loses control, and Flair's bleeding, and he comes into the locker room, and I thought at that moment that actor did a great job of Flair standing there like bleeding, going, "Oh man, you were great. Let's go get a drink and get effed up." Right? I thought that scene was pretty good, but he certainly didn't look like him or sound much like him. Anyway, yes, Chris should have been in it. Chris was a sole part of WCCW becoming USWA. What else? Dave was too short and Mike was too tall. I don't know. I like the wrestling. I like Chavo, but as an NWA fan, the best advertisement for the 10 pounds of gold this side of the Super Bowl. Yeah, that's true. Front and center, right?
Yeah.
It's absolutely true. Hey, I'm glad you just got it now. I sent it like a week before Christmas. I'm glad you got it though. The locker room scene was great, but even Dave pointed out right when we were talking about this right before we went on the air, like Flair wouldn't have been in that locker room with them. He wouldn't have gone out for a drink with them or had dinner with them later. None of that ever would have happened that way. But I get the dramatization. Like you have to do that stuff anyway. The moment never happened as it was written. Yeah, so. Yeah, Canada Post is greater than. I'm not so sure about that, my friend. So, I mean, I thought it was good, and probably the last time we'll talk about it, but go see it. Good in a 2.5 star out of 5. If you got nothing else to go see, go and see it. And see Thrillbilly and what's his name who played Michael Hayes?
Brady Pierce.
Pierce, thank you. Yeah, the AEW jumped all over that with the Von Erich kids. Marshall, and I'm terrible with names today.
Ross.
Thank you. Should have been a multi-season show. It's the first thing I said when I came out with my wife. I was like, yeah, that could have been a mini-series, like a limited series. Yeah, see, Thrillbilly was in it for like 38 seconds. So was MJF, one of the biggest stars in the world, and they chose to have him for like 5 seconds, and probably 5 seconds. I don't think I'm exaggerating. You didn't need to have Lance by Chance there, but if you're going to put him in, I don't know, give him 2 minutes in the film. I don't know, man. It's like he's a fairly big deal. But like I said, go see it if you can. Paranoia would be obviously the next thing up, and we'll run down the matches in just a second. But that's the signature live event for the CW, January 13th, and immediately after that, on the same day, just to remind everybody, it's CCW and NWA Viva Revolution.
Yes.
So 2 shows in one day. And of course, the TV tapings on the 14th, the next day, for Power, all coming up right in the middle of January. Just a week or so later, on the 26th, what are they called? Crossfire. KFW has Off the Hook, which has obviously some NWA stars in it, as we can see right there. So that's cool stuff. Here's some of the matches as we know right now for Paranoia. We have Magic Jake and Alex Misery, who, when we just touch on Power in a little bit, we saw from the Robarts taping that it was a fairly decent showing. I know we're going to talk about it, but from Alex Misery, good enough anyway. Miserably Faithful, who are getting a bit of a spotlight these days against, sort of debuting the Kids, who showed up but haven't actually been in the ring yet. So we'll see if that's a squash for the Kids, or if they're going to sort of bite the NWA bullet, so to speak, and on their first, match and go down in flames. It's always hard to tell with the National Wrestling Alliance. Talos and Daisy Kill taking on the New Spectaculars. What do you guys think of Spencer Slade? Jeremy, what did you think of the new guy here?
I like this guy whenever he did the whole Spectaculars 2.0 tryout thing. He had me hooked there. Hell of a talent. He's got a good look. I like his gimmick. He's decent on the mic from what I've got to hear of him so far. He's helping out Rush Freeman at the moment.
That's true. And Dave, we got Tom Latimer in basically what I would think of as a throwaway match against Brian Idol. I'm not super interested in that particular match, but what about you?
I hope Tom decides to just put an ass whooping on him and just be like, I got nothing to lose besides this match, and just go ape on him.
What I think Tom Latimer needs, and I'm just going to go to the comments in a second, but is when Trevor Murdoch lost the title the first, or maybe it was the second time, and he just became that Harley Race, I'm going to hurt you kind of persona. It was a change in character. It was a change in aggression and attitude. And Tom Latimer, if it's a heel turn, great. I love heel Tom. But if we're ever going to see Tom Latimer as NWA World Champion, he needs something to get him up there. But that could just be me. Murnox versus the Southern Six. Like I said last week, feels like my dad and uncle are coming to, beat me and my teenage friends up. That'll be, interesting to see how that one goes. And then announced today, and I don't know how much you guys have heard about this, but the Slime Balls were signed by the NWA, is what I read shortly before coming onto the show here.
The little one sat outside Billy's office and just screamed until Billy came out with a contract.
Wonder how quick they'll be split up.
Oh, yeah. That's true.
Over unders 3.
That's right. How do you do that? How do you do that to like a?
I mean, I can see where they're going. I don't know how they make the decisions on who they sign, but if you sign some people, you'll always need somebody to lose a match.
Mm-hmm.
And you can build up amongst your tag teams that are enhancement talent or quote unquote jobbers. You can have a feel good story of one of them rising from the ashes of they've lost all these matches and then they finally win a couple. But they need to do it the smart way. And I know they're looking ahead to the future, but they also need to make sure that wherever these teams are coming from, if they're from a territory, that they represent that territory as well as the NWA.
Agreed.
So they can't be on an episode of Power being a heel team and then in Exodus Pro having the crowd cheer them like they're the second coming of I don't know, John Cena.
I think it's important too to remember that while we all hear they were given a contract, we immediately think, how could they earn a contract? They haven't done anything. We don't, they haven't shown greatness in any way. That could just mean we'll give you $200 and a can of Coke every time you appear on. That could be the contract.
Yeah.
We'll pay your bus fare to the next tapings. There are different contracts in different ways. Of course, the most talked about match thus far, without question, the unification, and that word is being used now by the NWA, of the television titles, the men and the women's, as Mims faces Max the Impaler. We talked about it at length last week, and nothing has really changed in terms of how much this has been talked about or what different opinions are one way or the other. But one thing I thought I'd mention, maybe I'll throw it to you, Jeremy, like the women's TV title has had 2 really good champions, and that's it, I think. So it was just starting. And, the television championship, as we know it, has a lineage dating way back, I don't know, a long time.
Right.
And if both are to go away and become, we've talked, could it be an intergender title? Could it be a CW title? Could it be both? I feel like both of the existing title belts are being given a disservice. What do you think? Just based on the lineages alone and the possibilities of 2 separate belts becoming one.
With the men's title, it is a huge disservice to it, strictly because of its history lineage.
Mm-hmm.
That is deep.
Yeah,
huge names have carried that. With the women's title, it's not necessarily a disservice to the belt so much as the women's division, I feel.
Right.
You offered them an additional championship, got them more level with the men's, closer to the 27 that the men have at the moment. And now you're just gonna take it away and it's gonna disappear.
I guess
it's not my money. It's not my money is all I really can say about that.
And when it is your money, you'll express it and whether or not you want to buy the product when it's for sale, right? That's the thing. But so I guess we'll see. We'll see how it goes. but I agree completely altogether. Let me just see here. I'm just going to go back to this before I go to the main event here. Yeah, they should have had, back to the Von Erichs, they should have had a green screen or something with MJF as Lance, but with Fritz saying we need a new character. I thought also that would have been dramatic in some way. You know, how did the boys feel about a fake Von Erich?
Yeah,
coming into the family. There's just maybe wasn't enough time, but J. Cal points out that the Friday before Paranoia, EC3 is defending at another CCW event. So, as we determined a couple of weeks ago, he's not only the champion we want, he is the champion we need. He's out there doing that thing. Doesn't it feel like Slade should be with Troop? What do you think? Jeremy says no. What do you think, Dave?
Not together. I think they should be fighting each other. You do styles make fights. MLW, exactly. It's one of these things of you have two different styles of wrestlers and or mixed martial artists that are wrestling. So, I mean, use it as a storyline.
Yeah.
I'd love to see them against each other.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's a good pairing. Just going back here because I'm a little behind. Fuzzy said, we were talking about how Latimer needs an attitude change or something to bump him right up to become that man. And I used Trevor Murdoch as an example. Murdoch was using that same thing again, that kind of that Dusty-esque promo. I didn't think it worked this time. I think we've heard it already before this past week on Power.
I definitely liked Knox better in that promo than I did Trevor. I gotta agree. Trevor came across very flat. I was not feeling that.
Yeah.
But I was feeling Murdoch's, or I was feeling Knox though. And that's another guy that had sort of a character change. Whenever he was with Cardona, none of us really cared for him. And then he got with Trevor and he started showing some of that personality. And now it's just, I really feel that we're getting Mike Knox. That's who this guy is in and outside of wrestling. And I'm here for it. The dude's hilarious.
Yeah. I feel like give it a little bit of time and his whole Bunny Fufu, whoever the other character in his brain thing will develop, right?
Yeah.
He'll get it out. He'll get it down. And it'll be even better. But Matthew says, Scoob, to your point, not that it's a territory, but I saw a humble babyface Kerry Morton for AML War Games. And it's definitely different. It's odd that promos for Paranoia and commentary don't even float the idea that Jack Steen can get a win over EC3. Yeah, well, it would have been nice, and maybe it was Matthew who said it even in the Discord, if there had been something for like, don't worry about it, he's not going to, lose the title to Cardona because he'll have already lost it to me or whatever. But yeah, this one was a bit of a clunky promo. We'll talk about it in a second. I get ahead of myself, but because obviously that last match, that main event, ultimate match of quote unquote death for the NWA World's Heavyweight Championship, EC3 versus Matt Cardona. Is there a chance in either of yours mind or anyone in the chat that Matt Cardona walks away with the NWA title? Scooby?
I don't see it, but who knows?
But who knows? Yeah,
doing a great job, and the only way I could see it happening is if they want to do a surprise turn, and because Cardona is so well known that people may watch Power on the CW.
Yeah. Jay says a very small chance. Retro, who became my favorite Alliance family member for the day today. He knows why. Eric says Cardona could win it. I see no build, Jeremy. And with no build, that means no title change to me. What do you think?
I mean, it's wrestling. Anything can happen, but I don't think that the trust is there. I don't think Billy's going to put it back on Cardona at any point. He got hurt and dropped it.
Matthew Underwood disagrees. He says he thinks Cardona wins. But, there are those times, like both you guys are saying, where, correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm not an Impact or, TNA guy, but like a year and a half, God, maybe even longer. It would have been longer. Do you remember when Christian Cage won the Impact title and didn't he win a second title at the same time? And it was like all eyes suddenly went to Impact Wrestling. Maybe it was like two and a half years ago, because nobody saw it coming, and just boom, new champ.
Yeah.
I don't see that for Cardona, because I think he's past his, he's reached the apex of Fonzie jumping the shark, and I feel like that has played its way out, and he seems to be, Sam says it would be super surprising. Matthew says could win it, I should say. And because of the new deal, EC3 could win it back at Hard Times 3. Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, Christian won the Impact title. Yeah, that's right. But it was like a no build. I'll find it later, but a no build Christian's now champion, title change. And I feel that needs to be something that's had to happen. Like maybe you're a country gentleman who, made some demands and okay, why don't you go out there and we'll change everything along the way. Happy Days ran for years after Fonzie jumped the shark. Fair enough. That's fair enough. But was it as good? I think that's the point of the whole thing. But anyway, you're not wrong, man. You're not wrong. So that's Paranoia. That's what's coming up. So let's talk about the hopes and dreams we have for the National Wrestling Alliance for 2024. 2023, very tumultuous year. A lot of changes, a lot of people going, a lot of new faces coming in, especially near the end. NWA 75 and Crockett Cup and other good or great events that happened around then. But we have all along the way, while maintaining that positive attitude, thought, there are changes we would like to see for the NWA. And I hope you guys were able to put together a few of your own that we can share. And I'll ask everybody in the chat. Jeremy, did you pick anything, a couple things you wanted to see happen in 2024 for the NWA?
I would like to see the NWA travel further west.
Further west, yep.
And north, for that matter.
Thank you.
Yeah. I would like to see them broaden their map considerably in 2024 when it comes to traveling around. And continuity, the fine details. Just I believe I said this last year. Just pay attention to the details. Get those small details and the little, like with and I know we're going to talk about it later, but I was under the impression yesterday that I was going to see Murdoch's and the Country Gentleman by the end of the show.
Right.
Because whenever Knox wrapped up his promo, he said tonight. And it's just those little things like that. And then just a more consistent roster. I want to know who's going to be, if I'm tuning in and week out, I want to start seeing the same faces on a regular basis, be it in the ring, backstage segment, just a video package of some sort, just more consistency with the roster.
Right. You have some people agreeing with you here as well. I'm going to pull them up. My hope is to see, Eric Dale says, Tom Latimer capture the 10 pounds of gold, because I feel he's due. Jay wants to see Tom Latimer winning the 10 pounds of gold.
Yeah.
I do not believe, again, won't beat a dead horse, but I do not believe that without a major impact of some sort that is heard beyond the NWA, that Tom Latimer wins the 10 pounds of gold ever. And I think I would love to see him as champ. There is a reason Tyrus was picked. There is a reason that Nick Aldis was picked, a reason that EC3 was picked. Tom Latimer is not currently in a social media position to be that guy. That's just me, but I wish he were as well. Retro wants to see NWA on CW weekly, over the air, over an app. Like he wants to see them on TV.
Yeah.
Fuzzy seconds your continuity. I would like to see, Mike says, the NWA come to Johnson City or Kingsport. Knoxville isn't the only venue the NWA can attend. JCP can hold events at NetPro for their NWA branded events, so more cities in the area. Bingo, Jeremy, says Matthew. Continuity, little things to tighten up. Excuse me.
Yep.
Dave, how about you? What was on your list?
Well, I just want to see them make steps forward rather than backward. That they need to collectively sit down and figure out what they're going to do and not do anything stupid. Just like I always say, make it make sense. Don't try to be edgy. Don't do outside the bubble things. You're going to be on an app, and if it goes good on the app, possibly on the network television. Just give us good wrestling, good storylines. And like I've said before, not everything needs a storyline, but use that in the background. That if you're going to do power on the CW app, you can always bring back NWA USA or do Circle Squared. And when you're doing that, that's where you highlight your new talent or your unproven talent, but also highlight your champions out on the indies.
Right.
I mean, Colby Carino's had 18, 19 defenses, something like that. Let's see them besides what we see from the NWA.
Agreed.
It's a different time and place now. Anybody who has a phone can sit and record a whole match. Then they can cut it up. If you check Colby Carino's account on X, any defense he has, there's video. So highlight your champions either in the territories defending the belt or out on the indies defending that belt. It's all an NWA thing. It's your belt going out and you're being represented outside of your four corners. So the more eyes you can get on your champions and your belts, the more eyes that can possibly jump on a free app that they can download on their phone.
Right.
And I had like cut out all the foo-foo, all the goofy stuff. Just make it make sense. Or the only time you use something that is goofy or questionable is if a storyline isn't working. Just finish it. Finish it as soon as possible.
Right.
But it's just basic sense. I know wrestling is an escape, but make it as real as possible.
What does MIM stand for, Dave?
Make it make sense.
100%. J. Cal says, I want to see Pollo manage a tag team to the Crockett Cup. Me too. Power, money, respect. Matthew Underwood says, Sorry, Matthew. Power could probably use 30 more minutes, even if to recap or catch up storylines for half that. Yeah, there's a show near Kingsport that Sam is saying is coming. Oh, it's Jeremy's granddaughter. Hi. Fuzzy says, I'd still love to see Pollo and Thrillbilly complete their story, even reuniting or opposing. Yeah, finish it up, right? Retro would like to see Clearwater and Zion complete their storyline as well. I think the general completion of many storylines would be good. Money Mike says, for the NWA TV, more matches meaning something, not just a match with a local guy because he's with said promotion just to get the guy on TV. Have another TV show with squash matches. Sure. I think we kind of have the same sentiment, maybe in different ways. I'll get to mine in a sec. Eric says, I can see Pollo trying to get Thrillbilly. He only won the qualifier to the national title because she kept him from being eliminated. Yeah, no disrespect. Why mention any defenses if you can't release the footage? There you go. Let me see here. Clearwater, use him. There you go. J. Cal says he filmed in Mexico some of the matches using a Samsung. I'm just trying to get. There's a lot of comments here. Yeah, whoa, MIMS is an acronym. Dave came up with that one all by himself. I just fed that one to him. Yeah, Happy New Year to you, Jammin.
Yep.
Good to see you here. Thank you so much for being here. Happy New Year to everybody. Or another show for recaps maybe on YouTube. I got one on my three, but I'll go to Noob here. Unsurprisingly, perhaps, Natalia Markova winning television championship. Yeah, Pollo still needs to get. What's that?
If there is one.
If there is one, or if it's intergender, I guess there you go. I don't. We shouldn't speculate anymore. We're just gonna get ourselves all worked up again, guys. Pollo needs to get even. That was a big NWA angle that went nowhere. Baby Doll was involved, nowhere again. I'd like to see the deepest Crockett Cup ever. I love the Crockett Cup above all other pay-per-views in the history of pay-per-views. I do. But Crockett Cup is one of those things that probably has to go 2 nights. And when they have done it with 32 teams, I'm going to pick a random number way back in the day. Boy, what a mess. They had double countouts and double disqualifications just so they could get through the goddamn thing. And it wasn't like, I'm sure the fans were like, what is this? I paid to see 16 matches in the first round, 8 in the second, 4 in the third, and that just didn't happen. So I think you can have too many tag teams as well. 16, I think, is great. But there you go. Yeah, I want Sam wants Markova to be Kenzie for the Burke. And Jamin's wish for 22-4 is just for them to just keep getting bigger, better wrestling matches and shows, and just keep growing. Yeah, man, that's great. I think I agree. My 3 are fairly distinct. Some of them are sort of mentioned in different ways here. One, the return of or something similar to NWA USA. Whether that is to put the guys from the territories and say, hey, do you know the NWA has affiliates? Here they are. Boom, boom, boom. Here's matches from this, matches from that, matches from the other one. Or as a secondary show to put your Gags the Gimps and your Salvation and your Slime Balls or whoever it is that's going to be on the B team out there to get some exposure. I think there's enough content that a second show should be considered and filmed for and brought back.
Yep.
Number 2, signing a name, and Dave, I know you'll talk about maybe yes, maybe no, that draws some interest to the NWA. You're stepping up as a company into the next step in your evolution, which is getting on TV or at least as close to TV as you possibly can in the app. And what better way than to draw a name that people will know. I don't know who that name is, but there are people who would tune in for some of the free agents that are available right now. If you could find the money for someone, and I'm not saying this is the person, but for someone on the level of a Dolph Ziggler, who I don't think has landed anywhere yet, unless I'm dead wrong, then you have a chance of stepping up even for the NWA is on the CW and they've got someone that I'd like to tune in and see. I think that would be a very good, a very beneficial thing for them as well. And the last one, I know I kind of harped on this throughout November, December, and I'm making my push as of January 1st, like I said I would, the restoration of the NWA Hall of Fame. No, I'm not going to play the video.
Damn.
It's 2 minutes long. But there's not been a member. There's not been any nominees or recipients of the status of Hall of Fame membership into the NWA. I'm using terrible words to describe what I'm trying to say. It hasn't been active since 2017, meaning in the Lightning One era, there have been no wrestlers, talent, announcers, staff put into the Hall of Fame in the National Wrestling Alliance, and that blows my mind. And so I'll use this as a very quickly as a platform I have pinned a tweet as of today. It's doing all right so far in the last few hours, asking the NWA in the politest, most respectful, most supportive and loving way to restore the Hall of Fame by NWA 76. I don't need a brick and mortar building. I don't need to talk about how people are selected. That's not where we're at. We just want the company, Mr. Corgan, and the National Wrestling Alliance to say, yes, we are going to do that at some point in the future. And so please go to my Twitter page. I'm at the Alliance Gold. You'll see down here. And like and retweet that tweet for me. And as we continue to push positively and respectfully to the NWA for the return of the Hall of Fame. Those are my 3 wishes. I appreciate all you guys in the chat. Retro say we're top of the Crockett Cup. It's currently the NWA Starcade. That's a really good comparison, I think. It was really good last year. It was. The right team won just like it did the year before. And so it's we're in a good place with the NWA. Another interesting year lies ahead. Matthew Underwood asked, does the NWA have $150K plus a year to pay a big name? I wonder how much EC3 is making. Is there room for only one of those in the NWA? I don't know. If there is only room for 1 or 2, I know you got to be very, very careful on who those names are and what they bring. As Jaden once said in a different thing recently, they're worth it if they can bring in. They're worth the money if they can draw more than what that amount is. So there you go. I agree with that. Let's talk about power, fellas. Let's talk about the highlights and lowlights from last night. I'll kind of kick it off. I thought Joe Alonso versus Alex Misery was pretty good for a 5-minute match.
Yeah.
What did you think, Dave?
It was a good match. It highlighted both of the guys, and they need to build up some more talent that are able to go after at the drop of the hat after that junior heavyweight title. That it's not, oh, we have one guy that's going after Colby. No, you have to have 2 or 3 stack them, so as one ends, another one steps up, and there's no waiting time.
Right. Yeah, I agree. Miss Star on the mic, Jeremy. Well, I assume you watched Power last night, but Miss Star got on the mic, and she seems to be finding her way. I think some people think she's getting there. Others are like, not working for me. What did you think?
She's getting there, but it's not working for me.
Both.
It's both for me. It's the gimmick. We've seen it 1,000 times. You know, the poor beleaguered assistant that has to do all the dirty work and everything, and just gets downtrodden at every turn and called this and called that, and it just doesn't work for me anymore as a gimmick. We've seen it everywhere. Not just in wrestling. It's everywhere.
You know what doesn't work for me, especially is, well, there's a couple of things. One is that, like, she seems so clean cut, and you know, she seems like a natural baby face that it's tough for me to take her as a like a heel for no good reason. Like this, if you were going to do that, and the gimmick was, I am the prodigy, you know, I have the bloodline of you know, grandparents and uncles and aunts, and you know, I was born. Just, you got to do that from the beginning for me. You got to change the look if you're going to do it. But you know, you guys know, like, I am super respectful to all of the talent out there doing this really fun, you know, thing. As Cody Rhodes once said, grown men play wrestling in their underwear is what we do, but you got to take it seriously. So respectful for and appreciative. The young woman that they have as her second, if it is an act, fantastic, bang up job, but she has this look about her that just makes me feel like she's a complete dullard. Like, I expect a fly to come out of her mouth, and for her to, like, she's just like sitting there like, like have her do something, like give her the expressions like, oh yes boss, or like, you know, flinch away, or whatever it is that you're going to do. Give her something. It's just painful for me. Like, who is this person, and why would they agree to be your assistant because you beat them up? I don't know.
I guess it doesn't work for me. She's Samantha Starr is definitely getting more confident, but it's not. I just don't care for the gimmick.
Yeah. Yeah, it's. I mean, and I like what Samantha Starr can bring. I think she has improved.
Yeah,
you know, she got that new gear later last year. She looked great in it. But if she's going, it's the little things. Just like Matthew said in this comment. Yes, yeah, maybe he shouldn't be putting over Alex Taylor. But it is the little things. Just change the look, for God's sake, if you're gonna do something. Dave, Anthony Katera with Chris Silvio, a new face in the NWA. That's good, I think. Yep. Took on Storm Thomas and Magic Jake Dumas. There was a couple of talented newcomers we've seen here. I like that Silvio's got a client. I knew that it was just telegraphed to go Magic Jake's way, the whole thing. But we got to see something out of these guys, and I wish they'd kind of explained Chris thing, but what did you think of that match?
Overall, it wasn't a bad match, but it's one of these things of continuity. Okay, if Cody James couldn't be there for a tag match with his tag team partner Magic Jake, why have this match?
Right.
That you've been pushing Jake as a part of a tag team, part of a group, and then they're like, oh, the winner of this three-way gets a shot at the TV title. Well, in less than 2 weeks, there may not be a TV title. So what happens then? They need to make it make sense. If they want to get new faces on their programming, that's fine. I realize this was a location event. It wasn't a taping. It was a live event. But to me, I mean, it didn't seem to have any oomph behind it. The crowd was very quiet. And like you said, it was almost telegraphed that, okay, the name Magic Jake was going to win because the other guys were no names, at least to the viewing audience, not the live audience.
Right.
So if they're building a story of Silvio's rebuilding his little group of savages, that's cool. But it's one of these things of, I'd rather see a story make sense. Why are these guys fighting each other? I know it's for a chance at the TV title, but who are they? Where did they come from?
And I had the same problem from this match as I did in the main event. Why are the Fixers getting a title shot? I'll get to that, but why are these guys getting a shot we've never seen before at becoming a number one contender for the TV title? Just it's so worthless that anyone can just get drafted to do it. I don't know. You got to the whole focus of the night, Jeremy, was this tribute to Austin Idol as a big segment in the middle of the show where he kind of turned heel and went after Broke Billy. Look, I'm laughing now. I don't know about it at the time, but anyway, what did you think of the Austin Idol tribute spot?
Well, if Austin Idol really truly was funding the NWA like he says he was before they cut the feed, good God, that it would explain so much.
Yeah. Talk is at a fever pitch.
But I expected some sort of shenanigans and tomfoolery was going to happen, and because it had Austin Idol attached to it, and then out came Bobby Fulton, and God love him, but he looked like a lost kitten.
Yeah.
And then Austin, sure enough, turned back into Austin Idol. He was standing there just looking so polite and sounded so great being quiet, and then he opened his mouth.
Yeah.
I said, well, there goes me and my interest in this now.
Yeah.
I want to go back here for a second. Star just not that good in the ring for the years that. Sorry, sending something to voicemail. For the years she has and being third generation wrestler, she grew up in the business. She sucks. I don't think she sucks. I think that there's work to be done there. Fuzzy says if she does that horrible dodgy brain bounce move on Kenzie successfully, that thing with her legs where she rolls over and my TV's getting a remote through it. Look, I'll say this. In her defense, Bret Hart is considered by many to be top 3, top 5 greatest wrestlers of all time, right? Like at least in the modern era. That guy did the same match for years, move for move, to a point where Edge and Christian at one point, I think it would sit there at ringside. Maybe it was Shawn Michaels, but I want to say it was Edge and Christian. And they would just say, okay, off the ropes, quick leg drop. Yep, going to the second rope, falling elbow. Yep, there it is. And they would name his moves as a joke. It's the same stuff because it works for a lot of people. They like it. Right?
Yeah.
It's what pulled me out of ever really rooting for him as a world champion.
Because it was always the same.
It was even as a kid, I realized, good God, this dude's doing the same shit over and over. I'm watching the same. It doesn't matter who the opponent is. I'm watching the same match if Bret Hart's in it. Even his tag matches were the damn same.
It's true. It's true.
Yeah.
That was a weak-ass Austin Idol celebration. Okay. Look, he's one of those guys to me, Austin Idol, where, I'm glad he's around because he's, I feel like for a lot of people, he's got go-away heat, as they say, right? But I'm glad he's around because he legitimately makes me upset sometimes when he's talking because I just want him to shut up so we can get on with it. Yep. And I want to see a fist go into his face. That's never going to happen. But he is also one of those guys where was Austin Idol a legend? I mean, in the sense when you think of the word legend and you think of maybe Luthez, Ric Flair, Dusty Rhodes, you put Austin Idol in that category?
No.
You don't have to answer that.
Well,
I'm just saying he's a good guy for this segment to happen to, I think, or with.
For where he worked, he was a legend in, I'd say, the Memphis area and maybe down in Florida, but not everywhere he wrestled was he the end-all be-all.
Yeah.
But it's one of these things of, I mean, nothing against Idol and nothing against Bobby Fulton. I've had my fill of them.
Yeah.
It's one of these things, use them to your advantage here and there. I feel sorry for Bobby Fulton. I know he went through, I believe, a stroke, and he does have a difficulty speaking. It just takes me out when they go to interview him.
Yeah,
it's true.
And if anything, have him with his son and his son there saying, well, my dad talked to me and said that this and this and this. We just want to thank everybody and keep it to a bare minimum. And I mean, same thing with Austin Idol. Unless you're building somebody up and need somebody to talk, I'd only keep him for bigger events, or if they do a Legends/Legacy pay-per-view and they have people that they like would induct into a Hall of Fame or induct into like, for all the Crockett Cup, we're going to have a Crockett Cup Hall of Fame, and they induct one or two tag teams a year, something like that.
Right.
Austin could be like, I was with so-and-so and me and the Masked Superstar were a tag team, and they get inducted. But it's one of these things of the less the better. Use your legends, and I'd say use them for highlights. That if you want the spotlight on a new wrestler, pair him with somebody that is known. He's great as Zion's manager because Zion doesn't talk.
Right, that's true. He I'm going to put a couple of comments up here, but you're absolutely right. Look, I'm sorry, it was the wrong one. Fuzzy's a couple of great points. He's our legend, though. And someone had to be a heel to be beat. He was good at that. I agree. He says, my reasons for loving the Idol Fulton bit have nothing objectively to do with that being good for a non-NWA Smart CW audience. Yeah. Tim Krebs, new voice. Welcome. Glad you're here. Wait, are any of you actually comparing anyone in the NWA to Bret Hart? Not in terms of talent.
No.
Just in terms of having a set series of moves in a particular order. We were talking about Samantha Starr doing the same thing in every match, but and it worked for Bret Hart was the argument.
Yeah, worked great for Bret Hart.
Yeah, it certainly did. Have Austin Idol pair up with Brian Idol because Brian Idol needs a manager. Yeah, that would be kind of funny if he claimed that Austin Idol was just because that's never been done before. Tim says, I'm giving up on the NWA. I wish they had someone like Bret. Well, I think go ahead, Jeremy.
The UWN's filming on January the 14th and will be coming back on YouTube on Memphis YouTube channel around beginning of February, middle of February, possibly with new episodes. Check them out, bro.
Can't beat the production value.
Can't beat the storylines or the talent either, really, in my opinion.
Yeah. I'm certainly not giving up on the NWA for anything from this episode. Idol and Idol would be great. Magic Jake wishes we were comparing him to Magic Jake, who I still maintain there's something there. There's you remember when we used to as a group just say, Kerry Morton, we love what you're learning and growing and becoming. Please work on the cardio. I think that Magic Jake needs to work on the cardio.
He's been eating good in the neighborhood, let me tell you.
Yes.
And I know a little thing or two about that. So
his veggies and what such disappear.
Looks
That's
like
right.
A lot of Uncrustables. Let's just put it that way.
Dave, the Murdoch and Knox segment, where they Trevor kind of did a Hard Times Dusty bit there. What did you think of it?
I thought it was a good segment. It's not so much the promo, it's how they did the promo. That it's showing frustration that they're Crockett Cup winners and they're getting to a boiling point. That it's going to be one of these things that they're just going to crack one day and you're not going to be able to stop them.
Yep.
It's telling a story slowly but surely. And it's just, I feel sorry for the Southern Six, for Alex Taylor and Kerry Morton going against them at the upcoming event, Paranoia. But it's one of these things of, I could see by somebody slipping, somebody doing something, Southern Six coming out on top, and it takes Murdoch's over the edge. Both of them just go crazy because we've got in the next couple months coming up, hopefully it will be Crockett Cup and they'll be there to defend the Crockett Cup and go for a second win. Or it could be, we want the championship and we want it now. That them and Blunt Force Trauma, it's time for a change, and the change is going to be at Crockett Cup.
I just kind of felt like, they started off, they won the Crockett Cup because they were the baddest mofos in town. And then they failed to win the titles and then like the world tag titles. And it was like, now the gimmick is, okay, well, we're not fooling around anymore.
Yeah.
You
didn't unload already everything you had? I don't know.
That's
I feel like
really what I was getting from those promos back in the day from them.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't I think they're talking about Jared Fulton, are they not? A Crockett Cup Open Challenge. I think his name's Jared, Bobby Fulton's son.
Yeah.
Yeah, he is a wrestler. And then, of course, just to touch on it, BFT versus the Fixers in that world tag. Why are the Fixers, who we haven't seen in months, really, in any real capacity, getting a world title shot. The thing that most surprised me about it was the drop kick to win. I'm all for it. Marche has the best drop kick in the NWA. He's such a big guy and gets so high, but the WBD, I think, is what Danny Deals called it, right? The world's biggest drop kick, Dave. What did you think of that finish or that fight altogether?
I mean, it was meaty guys slapping meat. It's one of these. I really don't understand why the Fixers got it, but it's keeping the Fixers there where they can float between either the U.S. or the world titles, the tag titles. But it's one of these things of it's going to come down to somebody's going to have to beat somebody with Aaron either in a cage, or who knows if Murnoch's, if they go after him again for the belts, do they need a manager? Do they need somebody to counter Aaron? Who knows?
Yeah. Do they need a third?
Yep.
Jeremy, could you see Pollo Del Mar managing Knox and Murdoch?
That would be interesting, wouldn't it?
It's immediately intriguing, isn't it?
Very. The possibilities are endless with that one, especially with the little bunny foo-foo jackalope thing, that we're seeing from Knox. It would give Trevor a break on the mic.
Yeah.
It would give them an advantage going into matches. Both of them could focus on what was going on inside the ring and not have to worry about anything going on outside of the ring. We know Pollo can take a bump.
Yep.
And at this point, Pollo getting to see Pollo manage anybody in the NWA is welcome. I'd even take Pollo managing the slime balls at this point.
Yeah,
I'm just ready to see Pollo back managing someone.
Mm-hmm.
I agree. Fuzzy says, Matthew Underwood had said the match picked up after the Spiral of Destiny. I thought Jay Bradley looked great in that match, but the others were bumping without hesitation. Something just wasn't triggering in the first half. Everybody was jet lagged or something. I think they really put over the Fixers here, especially the Gursky. I thought looked like pretty stronger than he normally would be.
Yep.
And he always looks pretty strong anyway. We are foregoing our UWN segment while they regroup, and they're just a week and a half away from reshooting some new championship wrestling and Derby City Wrestling stuff. As Jeremy's been telling us for a few weeks, they got a new affiliate in Minnesota. Minnesota, and we'll be getting back to that. And was it?
That was
my impersonation of Jeremy doing the governor, though. Yeah. So I just cut myself. I'm like, what the hell was I doing? We're going to go straight now to our fantasy booking segment. Actually, I will stop for one moment. I don't know if Rick Del Santo is in the house tonight, but I meant to write this into our format, guys. Rick, our sort of a distant family cousin, shall we say, a member of the Alliance family for sure. If not in name, then certainly in spirit, we love Rick. Rick has decided to call it a day on Pro WrestleZone. And so that's it. There's a massive library over in PWZ's, YouTube library.
Mm-hmm.
But Rick has said very recently in the last day or so on Facebook in one form or another. Like the regular podcast he's doing is done. He'll do one every once in a while, but other than that, then he's not doing it anymore. So I wanted to say, Rick, if you're watching this or you're out there, I've always enjoyed the amount of time and energy that you've put into dealing with the hundreds of interviews that you have done over the years. Thank you so much. You're a credit to independent wrestling, and I'm glad to know you.
Yes.
So let's go into I Respect You, Booker Man. So, Mr. Scooby.
Yes.
A lot of free agents floating around out there right now. Some big names. Does the NWA need any of these free agents, or should they build stars from the territory system?
Well, the answer is yes to both or no to both, depending on how you look at things. Let's see. If there are any of the free agents now that are just going to do like Matt Cardona and travel around to the different independents and not sign with one of the big quote unquote top 3 or 4, that they're already gone from the WWE. Maybe they want to break from quote unquote a structured wrestling promotion and just want to go out and wrestle and have fun.
Yeah.
That's the one thing that Matt Cardona, when he first was released, he wanted to go out there and wrestle and just have fun. That there weren't restrictions. Basically, the restrictions were what he put on himself. So if you want to make a name, you have to make a name without the use of your WWE name. So you make an adjustment. I look at it and go, okay, Shelton Benjamin, that's his government name, so he doesn't have to worry.
Yep.
I would love to see him come in and go after EC3 to establish EC3 as a champion. Some bigger names, he either goes after him, and when and if he would lose, Charlie Haas is there to basically say, hey, you did good, but we always worked better as a team. Have them in the Crockett Cup, then it's time to move on. Have him there for maybe 1, 2, 3 months at the most with a couple of pay-per-views. I wouldn't go more than 4 to 6 months, because it's one of these things of if you bring someone in with a big name, they're there to make the NWA something worth watching.
Right.
People know who Shelton Benjamin is if they've watched the WWF, WWE over the last 25 years. They know who he is. So I'd possibly try to bring him in as a singles, and then possibly, if they could, team him up, the world's greatest tag team, Charlie Haas, do a Crockett Cup run. That way they could give a couple tag teams a rub as well.
Mm-hmm.
Take them to maybe the top 8 or even the top 4 before bowing out. Because right now, when you look at it, there are quite a few strong teams in the NWA, but you always need outside teams that can work together. And it's one of these things that Shelton Benjamin and Charlie Haas, them teaming up, it's like riding a bike. They don't forget. It just clicks.
Right.
So it's one of those things that it'd be a payday for Sheldon and a payday for Charlie if they bring them in. It'd be an established name and an established team that could help the WWE or the NWA with the people knowing them from the WWE and from Ohio Valley and that kind of stuff. But it's one of these things that, besides Sheldon, the only other people I could really see is either bring in that Rick Boogs guy or bring in Elias, who is now Elijah. And the only thing is, both of those guys are guitar players. Have Billy bring them in. Have it be something that has to do with Billy playing guitar, them trying out for a backup guitarist for the Smashing Pumpkins, and somebody running into somebody else backstage, and they take it to the ring. So it's one of those that I wouldn't see it as upper card. I'd see it more as a mid card. But it's one of those things that I really don't watch the WWE that much, that a lot of the names didn't click with me. I looked them up, and I mean, they may do well out on the indies by themselves, but there is a reason that they were released.
Right.
That there's sometimes it's a mistake, somebody's released and they bring them back. But usually about 75% of the time, they didn't connect and they gave them several chances. So, I mean, they could bring Emma in. She'd be a name that people would recognize from her time in WWE as well as over in Impact. But it's one of these things that I don't see a lot of the free agents possibly coming in. That the NWA, Billy deciding the NWA is going to have territories. Let's use these people. Use the territory itself to defend your belts in and give your talent, your current NWA talent, places to work besides the tapings and pay-per-views that you're having. Plus, also bring in talent from these territories that have earned it. Not just because, oh, my dad owns the territory, or I'm the champion there, I should be here. Well, there's a reason you're a champion, but you may not fit in well with what the NWA is wanting to do. Now, I'm also looking at, depending on what they have Black G's do, that he could either be a manager or he could also wrestle, depending on his health. I mean, who knows? Maybe bring in Top Dollar for a few tapings. You need somebody with size to go against a lot of your bigger talent. Thrillbilly really has nobody that's gone after him. Top Dollar could come in. You go, the church's money. Hey, I'm going to give you $1 here. Boom.
Right.
It makes a good story for 1 or 2 tapings. Then they move on.
Yeah.
But it's one of those yes and no. They could bring them in, but since, like I said, Billy has decided to go the territory route, they need to concentrate on the territories. They have 2. If they add 1 or 2 more this next year, that's fine.
Right.
But it's one of these things that they need to have current talent from the NWA on JCP and Exodus shows. And then you have your territories, like I said, have them be enhancement talent until they work their way up.
Right.
That back in the day, the enhancement talent in some territories were champions, but when they were in WCW, AWA, or WWF back in the day, they were basically jobbers. But they're wrestlers that knew what to do. I mean, you look at somebody like George South. He may not be as quite a good wrestler now because of his age, but he knows what to do. Put him as a manager with somebody. Use them to your advantage. If you're bringing in names, whether they're from independents or free agency, use them for their talent to up everybody, move everybody up the ladder.
Right.
So it's one of those things that I just say that if you're going to use your talent from your territories, have some good storylines that they can use. And like you had said, maybe bring back USA or do a circle squared.
Mm-hmm.
That I'd use the indies or the territory system, use that for title defenses of your champions out on the indies, but use the circle squared to get people over. That if you're going to bring in, I don't know, maybe do the circle squared thing or do a highlight show on Saturdays on YouTube and use May or Sam to highlight upcoming talent.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe do a rating system. Maybe show one or two. Colby Carino was out defending the junior heavyweight championship the last 2 weekends. Here's a highlight from his last 2 matches out on the indies. And it's stuff like that it doesn't have to be done at tapings. That if you remember the days of Carneyland, all that stuff was done in-house. It was done in your apartment.
Mm-hmm.
That LA Knight, Eli Drake, he did his little show in his apartment, and then they would record it, send it in, and whoever was producing would patchwork all this stuff together. That's all they have to do. Have either May introduce, do a couple segments, and then they just have highlight reels. That this could be done to highlight the territories or highlight what your champions are doing out on the territories or out on the indies themselves. So instead of spending money, I'd put that money towards producing more content. That, yeah, you're going to be on the CW app, and those better be good matches. But while you're doing these tapings, do 1, 2, 3 dark matches and use those for a highlight reel or a USA type show or a circle squared where you highlight up and comers or championship defenses that aren't on the CW. Because CW is strictly going to be NWA, whereas you have Max out defending the women's title in Japan. Okay, that's cool. I would have liked to have seen some highlights of that on NWA programming. Well, if it's going to be on CW, I don't think they're going to show Josie Pro, but if you do a highlight show on Saturdays, it could be 25, 30 minutes. Highlight it, and hey, this is what happened on CW this past week. Make sure to join us again next Saturday at this time. And also join us on the CW app for NWA Power.
Right.
It's all content that can be recycled. That you have to remind people what happened and what's happening, and not just make mention of, oh, so-and-so, oh, Colby Carino has been out there and he's defended it 18 times. Well, it's been, 3 or 4, maybe 5 times within the NWA itself. The rest of those 12, 13 have been on the indies. Show me what he's doing. Give me a good minute highlight of him entering, him beating up somebody, and him walking away with the championship belt. You have currently 8 champions. Show us where they are besides on NWA Power.
Right. Well, Listen, man, I think there's I agree with everything you've said, and it's funny because as you've been talking about it, I kind of realize there's different reasons to bring in stars. Like like I was saying, if I want someone for the NWA to help carry them on the platform, I don't know that person exists on the list right now of free agents. By the way, Fightful.com has a great list of free agents, really up to date as of 2 days ago. It's got Camille on it. It's pretty great if you ever want to see it. The list is long, but if you're looking for that superstar, I don't think he or she is currently there in terms of moving the needle. Yeah. But there are other reasons, kind of like what you've been saying, to help, like Crockett Cup, Samoan SWAT team, right? They're out there, aren't they?
Yep.
And the Von Erichs, I got the name. Now's the perfect time to land somewhere, to land them somewhere, and help them grow as their family legacy develops.
Yep.
And I don't think they're with MLW. I think they're on that list.
Yeah.
The grizzled young veterans. I'll go through the comments. Matthew Underwood said, right? There's reasons to bring in some of these names. I just don't think that there's someone who's going to save everything right now. But I don't think you do either. So there you go. Yeah, I appreciate that, man. Let's go to lots of comments for you. Noob says, I say no to free agents, yes to the territories. Pretty cut and dried there. Fuzzy says, after seeing how we love Kerry and Camille and Kenzie and Thrillbilly and Kazana and the like, I say mostly build within the territories until we find Murdochs and Knoxes and such. That, or someone with the skill and smarts of a Bully Ray who understands why they are stepping in and out quickly.
Yep.
Well said, man.
Yeah.
Tag team. So hence my wish for a deep Crockett Cup with all these free agents. And Elijah, 100% have them smashing Daisy Kill.
Oh, absolutely.
Hey, you know who's on that list, Jeremy? Is Crimson. Jeremy's like, I quit.
He's got a court date somewhere, I'm sure, that day.
Oh, Crimweather. Our friend Lou, NWA is not the place for the kind of fan that needs instant gratification. NWA is for the fan that loves seeing the match-to-match improvement, the hustle, and the grind. And Fuzzy says we also don't want the wrong marks. I heard it in the crowd at 73, 74, and 75. And you saw it in the tapings. Non-NWA fans coming in cheering and booing the X-Stars' old gimmicks. Yeah. Madcap Moss, Rick Boogs rather than guys with size. Top Dollar has some health issues, but he was just down in Memphis. I didn't tell you.
Popped up at was it a GCW show?
Was it JCP? Oh, a Juggalo. I didn't know that.
Yeah, he popped up at another one as well. He put himself out whenever he got his whenever his time was up. He started going off on Twitter about it.
Yeah,
how he's open for bookings and everything, and had interest. So, more power to him.
There is no ROH. That's all I have to say. It doesn't exist. It's just pretend. It's more pretend than any other of the pretend stuff that we all watch. NWA needs a USA type of show. It absolutely does. I appreciate your time, guys. This has been awesome as always, but we've hit that 90-minute mark. And we'll ROH NXT. Yeah. I mean, I don't know what's going on with AEW. I don't watch. I only know peripherally, but when you're in danger of losing, when you have lost the number one name in the business, love him or hate him, in the Discord for the Alliance, there is a channel that I keep quietly muted. I love/hate CM Punk.
Yeah.
So whatever your opinion is of it, when you lose that guy, when you're unable to keep the biggest name in the business and hand him to your fiercest rival who generally dominates you on a regular basis, when MJF, part of his gimmick is whether or not he's going to leave. You're in a lot of trouble. It just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Not to mention, the actual vice presidents in that company that seem to be leaving, and Cody Rhodes before all of that. But anyway, I shouldn't try to expound on things I know very little about. Fuzzy's going to close us out by saying, I want Warhorse for NWA Junior Division. No.
Ass.
No. Bad Fuzzy. Get off the couch.
He rules ass, though, Tim.
You know what?
He looks like
ban you from this group. What's that?
He looks like Zartan.
He looks like Zartan, and that is not a good thing.
Yep.
Yeah, we already had this discussion. Fuck.
We did. The 6 versus the Von Erichs +1 would make sense. Yes, it would. I mean, how would we be awesome if they had like a Lance Von Erich, but like Rance. Mance. How about Mance Warner? Isn't he a free agent? Mance Von Erich.
Honorary Von Erich.
J. Cal says NWA would benefit from a YouTube specific channel. Top Doll isn't a guy I think I'd want, but he could surprise me. We were just all joking that when he was down in Memphis, if he took a dive, he'd kill the first 7 rows.
They'll have their fucking audience.
Oh man! Happy New Year to you. Happy New Year to everybody. Let's go to the social media. Jeremy, where can they find you?
You can find me over on Twitter at HJWOTS and on Threads at Championship Wrestling from Jeremy. Real quick, we are at 2,740 something ish. So, we just announced 2,000 a couple of weeks back. We're on the way to 3,000 very quickly. Thank you, every single last one of you. If you've already subscribed, grab somebody's phone and be like, hey, I want to show you this video on YouTube, and then subscribe them to us too. They won't know.
That's right. They won't. They'll have no idea.
But they'll thank you later.
That's right. Yeah, it's rolling fast. The Alliance guys are who are tomorrow night are killing it out there. We're pulling great numbers. The pre-party's doing great, and just it's a juggernaut. Once it picks up speed, it just keeps rolling. And we're I know Jay doesn't want to celebrate till 3,000, but that's going to be real soon from the way these things work, I'm told. So congratulations to Jay and everybody else and all of us who were here as part of this. Dave, where can they find you on the socials?
Twitter X at Dave Scooby, and over on Instagram at Dave Scooby as well, and at Dave Scooby, the #1 on TikTok.
Excellent. I am on all the socials. I have made a commitment to myself and by extent the Alliance family to post every day somewhere. So I've been trying out Threads, and I've been pushing the Hall of Fame. Please go to my Twitter account at the Alliance Gold and just like and retweet my pinned tweet about restoring the Hall of Fame, please. One last plug there. I'm going to be doing this all the time, so I hope you guys just help keeping this rolling until someone answers me from the NWA or Mr. Corgan. I just want an acknowledgement. Hey, shout out to Jared Fritz for liking those tweets about the NWA Hall of Fame. That's excellent. Thank you, referee Jared Fritz, my favorite NWA referee. So I am at on all of them at the Alliance Gold. More importantly than that, it is at the Alliance blog. That's alliance-wrestling.com, your #1 source for news and information around the National Wrestling Alliance. And that's Jay. And Jay says, buy a belt from Trophy Smack, newest sponsor of alliance-wrestling.com, of the Alliance guys. We gotta talk sponsors, Jay. We gotta talk getting some. We gotta help bring in some of the sponsors. I'll drink that Dubby shit. Oh, I'm not married to Gatorade. Gatorade don't pay, baby. Give me some of that sweet, sweet Dubby.
Oh, that was great.
Yeah, that's it. Alliance-wrestling.com. Please go there for all the stuff. We appreciate you guys being here. And until next time, we'll see you at the matches.
Thanks for joining the stream. This has been a presentation of Alliance-wrestling.com. We genuinely appreciate your support. Would you consider subscribing so you'll never miss a future episode? I'd also like to remind you we do a live stream every Tuesday at 5 p.m. before NWA Power. You can find us on social media at The Alliance Blog. And until next time, we are The Alliance.